In this video, we are going to make zero array by subtracting equal amount. Hello, I'm Jagan from growwithdata. I'm posting this video to share my knowledge in Python language with you. If this assists you in your interview preparation anyways, I'll be happy. I have created a playlist, Python interview questions 51 to 100, and I'll be tagging this video to that playlist. Now let's see the sample input data and we can talk about the question in detail. So we are given a non-negative integer array nums. So in our operation, you must choose a positive integer x such that x is less than or equal to the smallest non-zero element in nums. And you subtract x from every positive elements in the nums array. Then return the minimum number of operations to make every element in nums equal to 0. So these are the 3 points we have to take care. I can put the points here. So first we choose a positive integer x such that x is less than or equal to the smallest non-zero element. So if you have the array 15035, right? So here, so which is the smallest non-zero element? So here 1 is the smallest. So 0 and 1. So 1 is the smallest because we have find the non-zero element. Now we have to subtract x from every positive elements from this, right? So this 15035, it becomes 1 minus 1 is 0, 5 minus 1 is 4, 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So we have to make it positive. So 0 remains same. And then 3 minus 1 and then 5 minus 1. So the array becomes 0, 4, 2, 4. Now, if you check the positive, smallest positive non-zero element, right? So if you find that out of 4 and 2, 2 is the element. So if you get 2, the array becomes now 0, 4 becomes 0, 2, and then 0, and then 2 minus 2, 0, and then 4 minus 2 is going to be 2. So now we get 0, 2, 0, 0, 2. Now the smallest non-zero element is going to be 2. So what happens to this array? We take this and this array becomes 0, 2 minus 2, 0, 0, 0, 2 minus 2, 0. So to make this array a 0 element, we need 3 operations. First you subtract with 1, then with 2, then with 2. So we have to take 3 operations. So the output is going to be 3. Output is equal to 3. So this is what is expected. So how to convert this concept into a code? Let's start with our brute force method. So we are going to convert the same approach into our Python code. Let's see. So our input array is going to be nums. So nums equal to this array. We define a function, our favorite growwithdata, and the nums is the input. First we check if the input is going to be 0. If everything is going to be 0, there's no point of doing it, right? Or if the array is going to be blank. So it's a edge case. First we address the edge case. If not nums or the sum of nums is equal to 0. If that is the case, then there is no point of doing the process. We just return 0. There's no need for the operation. Now we find the minimum positive non-zero element. So to find the positive non-zero element, we have to have a minimum non-zero element. We just assign that as float of infinity, the largest number you ever known of, right? Just have the minimum non-zero variable as the largest number we know of. Now we say for num in the input array nums, if the num is not equal to 0. Okay, if we are going to scan every element. If that element is not equal to 0, we have to check the minimum non-zero element, right? The minimum non-zero element equal to the minimum of whatever we have in the minimum non-zero variable and the num. So every element we are going to read. So 1 and infinity, which one is smaller? 1. And then 5 and 1, which one is smaller? 1. 0, we ignore this. Not equal to 0 is a 1, you consider. And 3 and 1, it's 1. 5 and 1, it's 1. So we go through this element, all the elements in the array, and find the minimum non-zero element. Now we find which is the minimum here. Now we go here and we are going to have our output with the operations. How many operations we are going to do? So now we say while the minimum non-zero element we are looking for, right? So if this is not equal to 0, if there is some value, then we are going to consider the loop for I in range the length of nums. We have to go through the whole array and then we say if the nums of I is greater than 0. If the element is greater than 0, then we are going to change that position. Nums of I equal to nums of I minus minimum non-zero element. So non-zero element is going to be the minimum of all the elements in the array. And then you go with every element in the array and see if it's greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, you subtract that element minus the minimum non-zero element. So it's never going to be 0 because that's a minimum one, right? So we get that. So once we do all the, we clear all the elements, subtracting that, and then we say operations equal to +1. So we just increment that operation. So we finished one whole scan. So the operation is going to be incremented. Now we have to find the same, the minimum 0 operation, right? So we are going to repeat the same process after this. So we go here and then we are going to do the same operation here. So minimum, we just kind of assign that to a largest number you know of, and then you check if the element in the array is not equal to 0, then you find which one is minimum and you get the minimum number. And then you go check if the minimum is not equal to 0. Then you continue doing it. So once you are done with all, then you have to make sure that the element, right? Whatever the element, if it's going to be 0, if everything is 0, then you don't have to consider. Sum of nums is greater than 0. Then you do this. Else you simply say the minimum non-zero is 0. Because once you convert that to 0, right? So everything becomes 0. Then if you just go back and check what is the minimum number. So it's going to be minimum non-zero is going to be infinity, and then it's going to check if num is not equal to 0. Then it never goes here because everything is 0. Then minimum non-zero is going to be infinity. Then the loop is going to be in infinity. So you just have a check. If the element everything is going to be 0, then you better consider the minimum non-zero is 0. And then it goes back to the while loop and see, okay, it's 0. Now you break the loop. Now the operations will hold how many times you go through this process. So once this while loop is done, return the process. Hopefully you don't have the syntax error. Let's run this function. So we run this, we got 3 operations, right? So if you want to see how the nums got changed, right? So then you can just go do a print here, print of nums, and oh, you have to close this bracket. You can see first it's 04024 after the first operation, and then 02002 and then 000. This is what we got here, right? After the first operation 04024 and then 02002 and then negative. So we got the same process here. Now I see the minimum zero operation. We are doing a for, if, and then getting zero. There is a simpler way to do this. We do a list comprehension way, right? So we're going to convert this process to a list comprehension and make it simple. So how can I do that? So what we are trying to do, get the nums array and see which is the minimum element, right? So I can just get this, get me the for loop first. For num in nums. If the num is greater than 0, right, then you get the first value or num. So if the nums is all 0 initially, then this will filter out and return 0. So whatever comes here, that array will have at least one non-zero element. So we just get whichever is the num and find the minimum of it. So the first num is done. So we don't have to carry all this loop. Now, when you do the same thing here, we have the if condition to make sure the nums is having some element. For the first time, there should be an element. If not, this if condition will handle this, right? So second time, we have to make sure that num array has some non-zero element. So we are going to check that here. We just say the same condition here, minimum of this, if the nums is greater than 0, else you make it as 0. So we can just remove this part. Now if I go, I can get the same result. So I don't have to go for the for loop, if condition, the float, infinity assignment, all that. I can simply go through that array and then make sure everything is 0 and get the minimum out of it. Same way we continue here in the loop, and additional condition is get the sum of nums which is greater than 0. That means some element is non-zero, and then we do that. So this is kind of a simplified version, right? So we just do a edge case initially, and then you can find the minimum non-zero in the array, and then you go with the loop, you subtract this. We can simply say nums equal to minus equal to, right? You don't have to put that, so it works. We simplify the code, and then we just increment the operation. Again, we are going to find the minimum element in the array. So the same function, only thing is we have additional condition saying that the element is having some non-zero. If not, put the 0. It goes the while loop. It will break if everything is 0. All this is fine, but that is a simple algorithm to address this question. If you see the sequence, right? So if you go for the element, for example, I can say this nums equal to 0, 1, 5, 0, 3, 5, right? So what are all the distinct elements here? So the distinct elements are 0, 1, 3, 5. There are 4 elements. You ignore 0, okay? Because we have to bring everything 0. So 1, 3, 5 are the distinct elements. So if you want to make everything 0, first anyways you have to subtract with the minimum one, right? So when you do the minimum, the first element, so it's going to be 0, 2, 4. Now of this, 2 and 4 are the distinct ones. So you find the minimum and then 0, 0, 2. Now if you see the distinct of it, it's only 2. So you go with 0, 0, 0. So if you have 3 distinct elements, then you have to process 3 times. If it's going to be nums equal to array of same element like 5, 5 and 5, right? Everything is 5. So the distinct element is going to be only 5. So how many operations we do? Only one operation, minus 5, and then we get everything as 0. So even this will begin 0, 0, 0. So if you want to change something else, we say nums equal to 6, 4, 6, 7. we have distinct elements are 4, 6, and 7. So you get 4, 6, and 7. So the minimum is going to be 4. So when you say 4, it means 0, 2, 3. Now the distinct is 2. So you say take 2, 0, 0, 1. And you take 1, it becomes 0, 0, 0. So whenever you see the distinct of elements other than 0, right? So that is the number of operations you have to perform. So whatever it is, if it's a distinct of all the elements are the same, then only one distinct element, one operation. If you have 3 elements, then you have 3 operations. If it's going to be 4, then it's going to be 4. So basically, it's the length of all the distinct elements other than 0. So how will I find the length of the distinct elements other than 0? So first you find the length of distinct element. To find distinct, you simply say set of nums. So set of nums is 0, 1, 3, 5. If I want to ignore 0, I simply say minus set 0. So I get 1, 3, 5. So how will you find the number of elements? I simply say length of that set. That's 3. So this is what is the number of operations we need. We don't look for what is going to be the nums array after every operation. If they say what is going to happen after every operation, then you have to go for the loop. But the question is how many times you are going to do it. So only thing is I want to find the number of times. So I don't want to go with all the looping function. I can simply go and check for this function. You get the distinct of the elements minus 0, ignore 0, and then simply return the length of that set. So the length of the distinct element. So this is what going to be the result. So if you want to go with multiple test cases, I can use multiple test cases. See, so this will be 3 and this will be 0. And even if you want to go with same elements like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So everything is same. So it's going to be one time, right? So even that is pass. So there is no need to go with all the looping logic and do the process, right? So what we can do is simply find the distinct elements, ignore 0, and find the length of that set. That will be the number of operations we do. So when you go for the for loop, only thing is if you want to know what happens to the array after every operation, then you can go for the for loop and find it. Even then, when you go for the for loop, we can use the list comprehension to find the minimum non-zero operations for every loop. You don't have to go for the infinity assignment and then for loop and if condition, right? We can just go for the list comprehension and make the code much simpler. So if you want to see all this code, then you can go to growwithdata YouTube channel. So this video will be in the playlist Python interview questions 51 to 100. So it's here. So if you want to see a Tamil version of it, you have Tamil Python interview 51 to 100. So if you go here, you can find the description part. You have the GitHub link that will take you to the code base. You have the all the code we discussed. So this one is the 64th video. So it's not at here. So we'll be having the 64th video. And once you have it, then you can see the code. So let me see if I can put that code now. So I am just committing the code to make sure you get the base. So if I refresh this, so you'll have the 64 here. So I can talk about the normal brute force method, or I can go with the list comprehension way, or a simple set process. So all the code will be available in the GitHub. If you want to join the WhatsApp channel, then there is a link here. You can use this and join growwithdata WhatsApp channel. Hope you like this video. Thanks for watching.